Hi there. Welcome to Cellular Respiration lecture video number 7. This video is going to summarize the parts of cellular respiration for you, okay? So this right here is a summary of aerobic respiration for you, all right? This is aerobic respiration. So how does it start? Well, it starts with glucose getting broken down during glycolysis and turned into pyruvic acid, okay? Pyruvic acid then undergoes an oxidation reaction, and it enters the actual mitochondria. So it gets modified as it is entering the mitochondria, and it gets turned into a chemical called acetyl coenzyme A, acetyl CoA. Right? When this happens, pyruvic acid is broken down and some CO2 is produced in the process. Okay? Then acetyl CoA enters the citric acid cycle, and during the citric acid cycle, a little bit of ATP is made, some more CO2 waste is made, and a lot of NADHs and FADH2s are made. Okay? These NADHs and FADH2s, they enter the electron transport chain, and they go through a process called chemiosmosis. All right? So they release these hydrogens and electrons during the electron transport chain, and this helps create 34 more ATP. So 2 ATP, 2 ATP, 34 ATP for a total of 38 ATP. Glycolysis, this took place in the cytoplasm. Most of it took place inside of the mitochondria. This is aerobic respiration. Now let's tie this whole thing together. Let's go over this. All right. So let's begin. Let's first do the anaerobic pathway, then we'll do the aerobic pathway. Starts with glucose. All right. Glucose starts the process. It gets broken down through glycolysis. NADH is made, 2 ATP are made, and pyruvic acid is produced during glycolysis. Pyruvic acid then goes through another set of reactions and it gets reduced during fermentation. The whole goal of fermentation is to replace NAD pluses that were used to make NADH. All right. During fermentation, 0 ATP are made. The two types of fermentation that you need to know about are lactic acid fermentation that primarily happens in animals, but happens in other things also. And bacteria and yeast, they produce alcohol during alcohol fermentation, and CO2 is also a product there. Total ATP anaerobically 2. They did not come from fermentation. They came from glycolysis. Okay, now let's do the aerobic pathway. Pyruvic acid gets oxidized now and broken down through another set of reactions, and pyruvic acid gets turned into acetyl CoA. When this happens, when this takes place, NADH is made and CO2 is made during this process. Right? Acetyl CoA then gets oxidized through a whole bunch of reactions in the citric acid cycle, and 2 more ATP are produced, more CO2 is made, and a lot of NADHs and FADH2s are made. The NADHs and FADH2s, they all enter the electron transport chain. And in the electron transport chain, they release their energy and their electrons, and that is used to produce 34 ATP, okay? And then the NADHs and FADH2s, when they are used, they are oxidized and converted back to NAD pluses and FADs to keep this process going. At the end of the electron transport chain, oxygen is the final electron acceptor, picking up electrons and hydrogens, forming water. Total ATP, 38. 34 came from ETC, or electron transport chain, 2 from the citric acid cycle, and 2 from glycolysis, for a total of 38